At Labyrinth Facilitators Training, offered each year at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, Lauren Artris cautions to be careful, not to suggest that the labyrinth experience calms the mind or relaxes the mind or mentions anything to do with people's heads, because people really, really identify with their brains. And anything that suggests anything to do with their heads can be threatening. It's the idea of brainwashing. But isn't it kind of weird that when our clothes get dirty, we wash them? And most of us bathe each and every day. And most everything we encounter in life requires a good washing now and then. But for some reason, our brains are off limits. Everything that goes into them, into our heads, it just stays there our entire lifetime. What happens in our brains stays in our brains. In fact, perhaps our brains need a good brainwashing after all. Welcome to Illinois Bridging Awareness. I'm Stanley Smith. At Illinois Bridging Awareness, we're navigating the liminal space between our thinking, logical, facts, and figure selves and our ideas and philosophical selves, and occasionally we can make the bold claim that we're encountering our knowing selves. Pat, the ex-coordinator from Missouri, shared with us the idea that we've all been programmed our entire lives to see things a certain way. Yes, we have our logical thinking selves, and it's part of our natural inclination to make sense and order out of things. But what happens when the world no longer makes any sense anymore? Ania Gramone shared that we don't always need to figure it all out. We don't always need to have the answer, but being at peace, experiencing joy, and love in your life does more than having the answer to everything. Later in the call, one of the participants explained that she had found center in her life through particular teaching and beliefs, and this filled her with peace and joy. Annie replied by saying, "Well, I guess you figured it out." I've invited Chris, who is the guy from south of France, to drop in on one of our upcoming calls. I've invited Chris to the ex-coordinator call and to the Illinois call because of the time difference. I'm not quite sure when and if he'll be able to drop into each of the calls. Chris is the guy who was trolling me on YouTube, cautioning me that we were heading toward a train wreck in our connecting consciousness experience. I have no concern about having Chris on the call, the Illinois call, because I believe our group is open enough to hear almost any point of view. But I have cautioned the ex-coordinators group because I suspect they may just hear him as a naysayer, someone who tears down anyone's belief in anything as unfounded because faith and belief are irrational to them. Ingrid, the ex-coordinator facilitator, said that even a naysayer can get it right sometime. Just because the truth teller has truth doesn't mean that everything they say is true. And it's the same for the opposing view. They're not always wrong about everything all the time. No one is that lucky. It's like Vegas odds. You're going to be a winner every now and then. But it informs the idea that we should not believe everything that we hear, and neither should we disbelieve everything we hear just because we don't necessarily agree with it at first hearing. But what about when we're the loser, when we're the ones wrong about something? Ania shared that whenever we encounter a danger or threat, we have one of three responses: fight, flight, and shutdown. In the shutdown mode, Ania said that we can fall into depression, alcohol and drug abuse, and even pornography. As I've thought more about that, we can see that intel and following truth tellers could be seen as a form of pornography. It's intel porn. It makes us feel better, especially when we find stuff that resonates with us. Being wrong is threatening to most people. Most people in life want to feel good. But there's a difference between feeling good and being good. In this weird time in world history, with all the events unfolding around us, it's important to take time out and find relief from anxiety. Roxanne Burrs shared a couple weeks ago practices for relieving stress and anxiety, like going for a walk and appreciating nature. Perhaps we should try that and turn off the intel for a while. Inviting Chris to our call is an opportunity to get an outsider's perspective. I'm pretty sure he's going to push our buttons, and maybe we'll experience something of a brainwashing. And what makes for a good brainwashing? Probably the idea of encountering something that challenges our preconceived notions of things. At Labyrinth Facilitators Training, they also stress the idea that one should be mindful of mixed groups. If you're having a walk for students, it probably is not advisable to invite their professors. And if you're having a work group, you probably don't want to mix the mid-level managers with the CEOs. The X-Coordinator group is a small circle. Illinois is a larger circle. And in our own being, we can be as large a circle as we can be. And that's what we're trying to do here in Illinois. We're trying to be the best we can be individually and together. We don't need to figure it all out. We just need to have peace in our minds, love in our hearts, and joy in our beings. If you would like to join us at Illinois Bridging Awareness, the Saturday Zoom call is every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video, and I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.